This is the new iPhone 15 Pro. It's got new cameras, a customizable action button, thinner bezels, a USB-C port for the first time ever, a new CPU which rivals M1 MacBooks, and a new titanium chassis that's been made from the same alloy as the Mars rover, all of which gives us some clues as to what could be next for Apple. But as good as this new iPhone is, it does have a few problems. So before you start rushing to the nearest Apple store and camping overnight to grab one of these, you might want to watch this. When it comes to the unboxing, things are fairly standard as usual. You still get the same info and sticker pack, and if you're in the UK, you'll also get a pin to access your SIM card. The US have moved to digital SIMs now and also have access to 5G frequencies which other parts of the world don't, which is why the US iPhone has an additional 5G antenna built into the side, just in case you're wondering why yours looks different. There's a 1 meter braided power cable as well that for the first time ever is dual USB-C. What they don't give you though is a USB-C charging brick, so if all you've got is a standard USB-A wall plug, then you'll have to buy a new one from Apple. Then of course we have the phone itself, and this one is the natural titanium finish. At first glance, the new iPhone is pretty similar to last year's. It's almost exactly the same dimensions. In fact, the design has barely changed in the last 3 to 4 years. Here's a comparison of it next to my iPhone 13 Pro in graphite, which is still one of my favourite iPhone designs so far. We still have the familiar pill-shaped notch on the front. The cameras are in their usual position with a smooth curve between the glass and the module. The matte glass back is the same as last year, except this year it's more easily replaceable, more on that later. And just in case you didn't know, it's still waterproof up to a depth of 6 meters for 30 minutes. But despite all of these similarities, there are a few notable exceptions. There's a larger battery on this new iPhone, which has a 12 to 14% larger capacity than the previous year. It's also made using 100% recycled cobalt, which is a big deal. This sits alongside a new software feature called environmental charging, which tries to minimize battery charging when the energy grid is less likely to be using green energy. A cool feature and something I'm sure we'll be seeing more of soon. We now have more screen space, courtesy of thinner bezels, and this is likely helped by having a new frame in the form of brushed titanium. Titanium has one of the highest strength to weight ratios of any metal, which makes it perfect for aerospace and even replacing human bones. And even though there's only 1mm of titanium on the outside of this phone that's been diffusion bonded to the aluminium chassis underneath, it also makes this the lightest iPhone Pro since the iPhone X. And that lightness is something you notice instantly when you hold this in your hand. Titanium is more scratch resistant and less prone to fingerprints as well, something the stainless steel models struggled with. There's also more curve to the edges this year as well, which makes it more natural and easier to hold. And in the natural titanium finish that I have here, it looks very cool. The button placements are almost identical this year as well, with the obvious change being the move from the much loved mute switch to the action button, following the theme set by the Apple Watch Ultra, and this is a welcome change. As much as I enjoyed the physical tactility of the old mute switch, it was constantly getting peppered with dust and dirt, so opening the button up to numerous ways of customizing it is a great change, alongside the new UI that accompanies it, which is one of the simplest menus I've ever seen. But despite all this utility, I do wonder whether the button is in the right place. If this is something you want to press quickly, then reaching up and around just feels a little more awkward to me as a right-hander, and I can't help but think that left-handers are going to find the placement of this much better for them. Aside from this, there's the new cameras. The iPhone 15 Pro gets a new 48 megapixel primary camera, which allows switching between specific focal lengths, with the 24, 28 and 35mm focal lengths all maintaining full quality. You'll also get smoother zooming in and out between the 1 and 2 times ranges with no jarring jumps or cuts. The 12 megapixel ultra wide camera that the Pro and Pro Max share have also been improved with better night mode and a more powerful HDR. And both these cameras now come with a nanoscale anti-reflective coating to reduce glare, which has been a problem with recent iPhones. And these are complemented by upgraded software this year. You won't have to manually select portrait mode now. You can simply just snap a shot quickly and then edit the bokeh and select the subject in post. The Pro Max now boasts a 6 times zoom up from the previous 3 times, and there's better stabilization as well, with the sensor adjusting itself 10,000 times per second. Something that hasn't really hit the headlines is support for the all-new Wi-Fi 6E, which means up to 2 times faster wireless speeds if the Wi-Fi network you're using supports it. And that's a big deal for people that noticed, albeit something we probably should have had last year. One of the biggest changes though this year is the USB-C port, which replaces Lightning for the first time ever. Not exactly something to cheer about, given again this should have happened years ago, but I'm definitely not complaining. Apple will tell you that their reluctance to switch was due to space, durability, heat or power, but the truth is a little more corporate. Apple made an absolute killing on their Lightning cable licensing and accessory business, a revenue stream they were desperate not to lose. But alas, the EU stepped in and now it's RIP Lightning. A slightly bizarre situation where a government policy has actually ended up improving a product. Something to be aware of though is that you'll only get USB 3 on the Pro models, with access to 10 gigabit transfer speeds, allowing you to record 4K footage directly onto the external SSD. The standard iPhone 15 models only have USB 2, which will still allow reverse charging from one iPhone to the other, and that also works via Lightning as well. But not even the Pros have USB 4 or Thunderbolt 4, which will give you up to 40 gigabytes per second in transfer speeds, like we have on the iPad Pros and MacBooks. This may not sound like a big deal, but with increasing picture quality and the introduction of ProRes RAW photos and videos, file sizes are swelling, especially with the addition of 60 frames per second RAW video this year. Add this to the rising cost of cloud-based services and you get to a point where people need quicker transfer speeds off their phone. So that's a big disappointment from my perspective. The Pro model should be exactly that, Pro. We want Pro tools and the best possible solutions, which Apple haven't yet given us. One of the reasons for this could be that Apple are worried about heat, and if they are, then they should be. I've been using this phone for a few days now and I can tell you it gets warm, very warm. In fact, it gets so hot I've actually had to put it down a few times to stop it overheating, and that's a problem. None of my recent iPhones have done this, and if this continues to be a problem that they can't fix with software updates, then it's going to be a disaster. It's tough to say at this stage what's causing the overheating. The new A17 chip could be responsible due to the sheer power it's churning out, and we now have 8 gigabytes of RAM as well. But I'm not exactly doing a heavy duty task here, and it feels like I'm holding a meteorite, and that's without even a case on it. There's more issues as well though. The new ceramic shield back, which is now more replaceable than previous models and is supposed to be the strongest ever, is also seemingly more brittle. Jerry Rig Everything managed to crack this with his bare hands in seconds, which hasn't happened on iPhones for a long time. So let's hope all that overheating and the new titanium chassis aren't compromising the strength of the phone. I keep my phone in a case most of the time, so let's hope that does the job. One side note on this is that we've lost leather cases from Apple. Personally, I didn't love their leather cases anyway, as they seem to degrade so badly, so that's not a big loss for me. I've been using the same case for a couple of years now, which is this full grain leather case by Mujo. The quality of these is just next level. They have a microfiber lining to protect the phone, they're MagSafe compatible, and they have a card pocket as well, which personally I find really handy. I think they just look incredible, so I'll link to the one I get in the description if you guys want to check it out, as well as the screen protector that I use as well. All in all then, the new iPhone 15 has got a few niggles to work through. Let's hope Apple can sort out the overheating issues with a software patch, and I'm still waiting to see a Pro iPhone with genuinely maxed out features. In the meantime, I'm going to be holding on to this, so let me know in the comments if you guys have any questions and I'll try my best to reply. Get subscribed if you haven't already, and please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.